So, I just read Recursion by Blake Conch. This is my copy of the book, because I listened to it on Audible. They're not a sponsor. Please give me money. So if you don't think listening to an audiobook counts as reading, you can get out. So, it's a really cool story about a cop and a woman and a new mental disorder called FMS. FMS is false memory syndrome, and it makes it so that people have memories of another life. Meanwhile, the scientist lady in the story is investigating a way to cure her mother's dementia by creating a memory chair. Ultimately, this becomes a time travel story, as people start to go back into their own lives, so no further than their own life, to change the events of their life. Now, unlike most time travel stories, we don't focus so much on their changing of the events, solely the aftermath. Once you get caught back up to your current time, everyone now has the memories of the previous life. Maybe they don't necessarily know that it was a time travel shenanigan, but they will have those memories, and it's become a disorder called false memory syndrome, because people don't realize people are time traveling. Now, as cool as all this is, and as good of a sell as it is, and it takes place in New York, which is already super aesthetic, it does a really good job of being a story about regret and grief. I genuinely believe this. Our protagonists throughout the book, both of them have a ton of regret in their life, has a ton of things they need to move past. And only by going back in time and getting to redo and replay out the events of their life do they start to really realize the people that they want to become. And yeah, meanwhile, the escalation of time and how it's handled in the book is really realistic. The US military gets involved at a certain point. I won't spoil it, but it's insane. So there's a constant escalation. There's a constant separation of themes and dynamic plays and ploys. I think it does a stellar job. That being said, since the book is broken down into multiple books, I feel like the first two parts and the last part are very solid, while the parts in the middle can feel a bit confusing. The book does at times kind of go back and forth about how people react to FMS, and sometimes the time travel syndromes aren't perfectly lined up. It's not 100%. But since this is a story about characters, I don't really care so much that the time travel stuff isn't always done 100%. It's done 85% well enough, and in a lot of time travel stories, that's about the most you can get. So, yeah, it was very interesting. I faded back. This last some time. Gotta go now! So, that was the review. A solid 8 out of 10. Leaning more towards a 9 than an 8, but I'm gonna give it an 8 just because certain aspects didn't work quite so well enough to get the 9 for me. But it was a good read regardless. Now, if you don't mind, I gotta go hide a body. See you next time.